Controversy follows NASA around with absolutely everything that they do. I want to have a look here at the Viking lander and the first image that they ever sent down. This clearly, for me, is taken from Earth, and this is the image they released later with the red tinge. Now, if this was the only mistake ever made by NASA, I might think, well, either like the people here are thinking, perhaps Mars is a little bit more Earth-like than they're prepared to admit. But this isn't the only mistake ever made. This is one of many. And so the good people of Earth can't realise just how terrible NASA really are. The conspiracy ran along the lines that Mars is more Earth-like. It didn't occur to the newspapers or the conspiracy theorists that this could actually have been taken from Earth. And that is because, on the whole, people are reasonably decent, and they ascribe their decency towards other people. You just do that. We are in the unique position of being able to look back over decades of NASA footage, and I suggest to you that errors are inevitable when committing fraud. The explanation from NASA was put forward that this was a mere calibration error, which sounded sciencey enough for the devout followers that when the red hue was added and their fantasy allowed to continue, they lapped up the explanation and bragged of the achievements of NASA. However, one explanation that is loath to be considered by anyone is that the very first image exposed the true nature of the fraud, and that this image looks identical to Earth because it is Earth, and either NASA intentionally want to give you the opportunity to have to choose to believe them for some perverse spiritual reason, or a horrible mistake was made by them accidentally, and it is worthy of being in the space movie Bloopers Hall of Fame. Nobody doubts NASA's ability to offer explanations to satisfy their fanboys who want to believe. However, after years of movie productions, I want to hit a few highlights that may break the spell the high priests of scientism have on your spirit. A lot of anomalies have been spotted in the Mars rover images. Probably the most notorious is the Arctic lemming. The Arctic, Greenland perhaps, would be an ideal location to stage the fraud, because it is remote, and as it happens, NASA have a base there. The thing I love about this type of error is you do not need to be a rocket scientist to understand it. You can just simply see it. In fact, it probably helps not to have that intellectual pride that gets in the way for so many of the fanboys. Again, if this were the only error, then one might want to be a little more sympathetic towards NASA, but it's not. There are multiple anomalies with the Mars images, and in fact with every NASA mission. NASA's official position is that it's a rock, and the fanboys, like the good lemmings they are, believe it. The combination of the forgotten red hue, the lemming image, and the multiple anomalies seen in the other Mars rover images is powerful evidence of fraud. It is powerful because NASA are never just going to roll over and tell you the truth, so you have to take advantage of the inevitable errors that come when presenting a false reality. The moon landings have been covered ad nauseum for people my age, yet on the 50th anniversary the propaganda machine and indoctrination centre of mainstream media are pushing hard to befuddle yet another generation. Also, always in the sidelines, is a fevered fanboy waiting to pounce to muddy the waters with a barrage of noise and wounded pride to defend of what should have been a long ago exposed fraud. Really, you can take your pick of reasons not to believe, and in the interest of speed I will not cover all the points. Rather, I'll just point out my favourites, which are the build quality of the lunar landers, the obvious models and movie effects of the lunar orbiter and command module meeting up, and the Armstrong post-flight press conference. If you take an honest look at the evidence and are unable to see past the fraud but are highly suspicious about it, then keep looking at all the NASA footage, and you will find that it's not just the moon landings that have aspects that are consistent with a fraud. So on to Skylab. The footage that we're looking at here is from Dudley Observatory Media. They have a YouTube channel. I have put in a Freedom of Information Act request with NASA to find out if this is official NASA footage. I got the Freedom of Information Act request back and they declined to answer because they will not open a YouTube page from their system. They don't have any arrangement that can do it any differently, so the only way we can confirm absolutely that this is official NASA footage is to put in a Freedom of Information Act request for the 1973 footage, which I am very keen to do. In the meantime, however, I have looked into all aspects of the training and I have never seen any training that simulates zero-G and has the astronauts on wires like this, with the wires clearly being attempted to be hidden. Dudley Observatory Media was formerly owned by NASA, and they state on this video that this is the astronauts in space in the 1973 mission. This is very important because the footage I'm going to show you comes all from this reel, and it is pretty damning for NASA. So the tape continues and the guy disappears off screen and is about to make his reappearance doing a dramatic forward roll. Let's watch this. There he goes. So that's the manoeuvre there, and we're going to take a close look at that because there's something really horribly wrong with this. So some of you will have seen this already from the work that I've done. And as he comes back into sight, we see that he is wearing a harness, and it comes into view there, and he's got a flap of clothing here that is supposed to be hiding it, but as he does the manoeuvre it's stretched out, and here we can see the harness buckle, and we can see the shadow from the flap of clothing, and as it comes round we get to see it in full view, and then it disappears back in behind, and you can see the huge shadow there from the flap of clothing that's supposed to be hiding it, and it disappears back in behind there as he moves forward. Now, due to the stop motion that they're using here to elongate the film, he is able to change his rigging entirely. I think he goes back to around about here to a smaller set of rigging, and they use the larger rigging for the somersault. Worthy of pointing out from this footage is the shoes. They are supposed to be big triangles with recessed arms. However, what we actually see just look like arms sticking out. These would be used to connect to the harness wires. This ring fits inside of a jumbo jet. These guys are using reduced gravity, freefall and momentum to give the illusion of full zero-G. Also, NASA may be messing around with the speed of the footage at this point. I think they are. Parabolas are not the best way to get long footage for zero-G or reduced G. I'm going to show you a clip of how this is done because it is really important. The ideas from this fraud led on to the space shuttle fraud.
Right, I want to cover parabolic flights just quickly. This guy gets it.
Often called parabolic flights, the zero-gravity aircraft flight is a rather simple yet predominantly misunderstood concept. The parabolic aspect of the flight is actually irrelevant when it comes to the physics of mimicking weightlessness. The trick is all in the dive. When the aircraft begins to free fall.
So the parabolic arc gives anything from 30 to 45 seconds of apparent zero-G. However, the time of apparent zero-G can be extended and maximised by then free-falling after the arc. The parabolic flights available to the public, whilst being fun but expensive, are also a psychological operation to imprint on the minds of the public that there are severe limitations to the length of time zero-G can be mimicked. It is a matter of fact that the continuation of freefall after the arc provides longer apparent zero-G time. There are limitations still, the main ones being the height the aircraft can achieve and the capability of the craft to pull out of the freefall. Bonus time can be added by sacrificing the full 0G effect for 1/6 or 1/3 G, which, if cleverly exploited, can give the impression of a 0G environment. So from the Skylab forward, a strong pattern of fraud starts to emerge. The pattern certainly evolves over time, and the pattern is thus: the quality and length of footage we receive from NASA tracks with developments in cinema special effects rather than developments in camera technology. Also, they are using a 0G 747 to get the undisputable 0G footage. However, the better the film quality and the higher the evidence of undisputable 0G, then the shorter the clip. The longer footage, with reasonable quality of image, however more disputable 0G footage, perhaps in 1/3 or 1/6 G, then there are always opportunities for clever editing, such as cutting when the subject leaves the frame. The longest unedited footage I have seen is always in lower quality resolution, with no evidence of undisputable 0G footage. It is a pattern of fraud, and that is why I want the full footage. Please support me in this, and I will be able to speak with greater certainty about this section of the fraud.
I remember when I lost my mind. There was something so pleasant about that place. Even your emotions have an echo in so much space. And when you're out there without care, yeah, I was out of touch. But it wasn't because I didn't know enough. I just knew too much. Does that make me crazy? Does that make me crazy? Does that make me crazy? Possibly.
So that leads us on to the Space Shuttle fraud. Having learned from Skylab that unedited, high-quality, freefall footage was the holy grail of deception, and that lower image quality but longer footage using a host of prop tricks and harness work would keep the public satisfied, NASA, out of the desire for some flawless footage, a truly rare event for them at this time, and the mechanical nature of the best way to achieve this, because CGI was not yet available, devised the 0G shuttle, which was capable of climbing to incredible heights and free-falling to give massively extended, flawless periods of apparent 0G. The setup of how they displayed the footage in the early days with the use of the Ariflex movie-grade camera with its bulky film also allowed them to exploit the parabolic arc with less freefall time to get the higher quantity of shorter clips. Not every clip demanded the massive freefall time due to this method of presenting, and it is genuinely represented in the two foia requests. A bonus harvest of errors occurs along the way due to NASA's desire to do live performances, and these are the key to unlock the fraud as post-production work improves.
Also, as you can see, we can sit anywhere we want when we're in microgravity, so the whole sense of up and down changes, and it really doesn't matter which way's up, it just becomes arbitrary, and it's amazing how quick you adapt to that. But the body adapts very quickly. It's kind of surprising, really. You wouldn't think after millions of years of evolution there'd be any reason for the body to adapt to microgravity, but it adapts very well.
Right, I want to show you the highlights of this maneuver, and this is just a magic trick, and then I'm going to show you it in half speed and quarter speed, and you can make your own minds up. This absolutely is not in 0G. The maneuver begins, he puts his hand on the table, and notice how his thumb is just balancing there. Now, if this was in genuine 0G, that grip should be sufficient for him just to direct the whole maneuver, but it all goes horribly wrong. So he pushes up here with his legs, and that there is enough momentum for him to complete the maneuver in genuine 0G. But he's not in genuine 0G, and I'll give you a comparison later of somebody who is, and how effortless it all is. So from here, there's a guy in the jacket, and the plan is that Chris pushes his legs down against the guy's arm. There's the push down, and he tries again. Now, Chris realizes he hasn't got enough momentum, so over here he is going to put his weight down onto the table to try and complete the maneuver and steady himself a bit, but his hand slips, so his hand's on the table, and you can see the weight of it. He slips and gets caught by the wire that he's on. So the guy is still in the jacket. Now this guy on the left starts to get involved. He realizes it's going a bit wrong, so he gives him a push, but he's also controlling him and pulls him later. Now Chris is trying desperately, and the people controlling the rigging are able to help him now, trying desperately to get around and make it look as effortless as possible, but he does this wild leg flail here. So this guy is currently pushing, but he's just about to switch to pull as this maneuver is getting near completion. So this leg flail there, that is just pure energy of the effort that he's putting into this. Now the guy behind here is controlling the rigging, and now he is pulling there, but that's probably because the rigging is being controlled as well, and he doesn't want him to shoot past. Now Chris has assured us that there's no such thing as up and down as he moves from the up position into the down position at exactly 180 degrees. So no such thing as up and down, then why isn't he just floating around effortlessly that we see when people are in genuine zero-G, and he's promoting mindless evolution, which is just another bag of crap that gets pushed on us to deny our creator. Now this jacket is the guy in the jacket is going under the table as Chris comes down to complete the maneuver from the 180 degree back to the up position. Incredible. So this is in freefall mode from the 0G shuttle.